Halloween
forever.
Why do demons and ghouls hang out together? Typically speaking.
Why, Brian?
Because demons are a ghoul's best friend.
Guys,
hold on. I got one more. Wait, hold on.
Doubling up.
Hold on. Ghoul's an easy thing to make puns out of. Ready? What does an Italian ghost wear? A gabagool.
Oh, I thought I was going to say like Dolce and Gabbana or something stupid like
that would have been all right too. Welcome, boys and ghouls, to a very special punishment episode of Halloween is Forever. It's your boy, Brian.
I'm Meg.
It's time for the 3-time champ of the whole podcast. It's Steve.
Did you just make up your own like entrance song like on the fly
I
right
actually
there?
spent hours writing that little jingle.
That makes a lot more sense.
That's what I was doing pre-show and why, I was being quiet and ignoring you guys. I was writing that jingle.
It really came out seamless. Really great job. Yes, guys, we got some weird news. Steve did manage to pull off the first ever three-peat in terms of showdown episodes in the history of Halloween is Forever, a 2-year history. This is our 2-year, really. I guess this technically kicks off our 3rd year of episodes because we started in June of 2021 and then this June of 2023. So we're into our 3rd year. Holy shit balls, you guys. But nobody had won 3 showdown episodes consecutively. Steve did that. He promised something weird. Had us all scared, ended up choosing, which we're going to talk about today, this movie that I don't know if you guys have heard about it. It's taken a freaking internet by storm. It's become a cult classic in a week. 2007's Ghoul of My Dreams, directed by some fucking, I don't know, hunky.
Is he a hunky boy?
No, hunky like a derogatory term for a Hungarian. Yeah.
Like Hungarian, which is accurate.
Yeah. No, this is Steve's, our boy Steve's college senior thesis film from Penn State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's teased this in the past. It is a 3D zombie-ish, more ghouls than zombies. Listen, we'll have some conversations about some of the logistical differences between a zombie and a ghoul here. I've got a lot of questions personally. But we'll get to that when we talk about the movie. But it was a startling insight into the psyche of a young Steve.
Yeah. I didn't know he was such a pun master, like yeah. I'm just taken back here.
Yeah, I take the pun back seat on this show, but like I got that dog in me.
Right. And then before we do that, though, we got a whole bunch of other stuff here to talk about. First of all, if you're new to the show, because usually, frankly, around this time, like in the summertime, we start to get some like new listeners because people are starting to think about spooky stuff, right? Spooky season's just right around the corner. It's always right around the corner as far as I'm concerned. The internet's
good for something. It's to remind us come right before August that, the countdown is fucking on.
Yeah, it'll be coming here quickly. So we start to get some people who are listening to episodes around this time that maybe just joining the fold for the first time. As always, I want to greet you with a wholehearted fuck you. You freeloading piece of shit. You're just coming in. Where you been? And also, second, welcome. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Here's how this motherfucker goes. We do a sweet, succulent, yummy content every Monday. However, once a month, the first Monday of the month, in fact, we do what's called a showdown episode. And what happens is we got a bunch of topics. Some of them are subgenres. Some of them are more kind of weird esoteric topics. We put them on this big old spinny ass wheel, right? As Bigfoot Ben, our occasional guest, discovered recently, it is in fact a spinny ass wheel, though it is on the intranets. We spin it. We get 3 of those topics. Those topics come from Yin's guys out there, their social media friends and listeners. Some of them come from us. We pick 3 of them. We put them out in the social medias, and then we allow you to vote. We give you that incredible just you're drunk with power with the opportunity to vote and figure out what we want to talk about, or what we have to talk about rather, on that next Showdown episode on the first Monday of that month. Once we have that topic, we each pick a movie associated with it. We watch them, we argue about them, we ultimately vote and figure out whose movie reigns supreme, who takes home that son of a bitchin' championship belt for the month. Steve, like I said, going on his 3rd month of taking it home. So we usually do a little punishment episode, basically the episode after the showdown. Whoever wins gets to choose anything. Usually it's something horrific that they inflict on the other person, indirectly also inflicting upon themselves because they have to watch it and talk about it. Steve, this time, pulled a real left fielder situation, yanked it out of left field for us, and gave us his previously hinted at student film, which we watched and we're going to talk about here in a second. But before we do that, we got to pick what our 3 topics that are going to get voted on for our showdown in July are going to be. But before we do that, we also got to talk about some beers, because we usually do that at the top of the show as well. So, Yin's got beers is the question that I pose to you.
Okay.
I'm like, go ahead, Steve. Kick it off.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm doing a little kind of taste test. A little flavor match. I got 2 beers. I'll probably talk about one at the end of the episode, but I'm doing one right now. It's a Parfait Sour from Abjuration down there in McKees Rocks and that.
Yeah.
It is a sour ale with yogurt, mandarin oranges, and granola.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a dang old parfait. That's how they make him.
Yep.
A little bit of yogurt. A little bit of granola.
Yeah.
A little bit of fruit. Then you do it all over again.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's my understanding of a parfait.
You got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the beer looks like.
Yeah.
This is what the can looks like.
Sick.
They hit everything they were shooting for. It tastes like a yogurt sour with their orange in it.
You know, it's the interesting thing is they did put on the label, and correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like they put on the label the parfait being made in a mason jar.
Yes.
Which that's a real Chip and JoJo situation.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of the restaurants they put it in the mason jar, make it seem like it's like homemade or something like that.
Mm-hmm. It's a real, easy way to trick somebody into paying $8 for fucking something you can make at home for less than $3.
Yeah. You know what the interesting thing is? I'm waiting for this because, I gotta assume we are on the back end of the whole mason jar, country, what I like to refer tongue in cheek to as whiskey and butterflies. Everything's got to be like this down home Chip and JoJo shiplap and fucking live, laugh, love and all that kind of shit. And, obviously the dining scene has been dominated by that. And a lot of the, I think Sean Brock probably started it and everyone thought that was cool for a while. And then every dildo in their, partner put some restaurant together that was like, we're doing real down home comfort food type of Southern stuff. But it's white as fuck.
Oh, man. Until people stop getting married in barns, I don't think this is going to go away.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Barn weddings are a great example of this culture.
Yeah. I think the way to track this is there's a lot of people who sell the rustic door that's on a slide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the sliding rustic door. Once sales of those dip, then you no longer have the audience to show up to be whiskey butterflies. I got my straw cowboy hat on, but also I'm not going to tip.
I really just want the goths to ruin this a lot because I see a lot of this sort of thing going towards like everything just being black. Like there's an account I follow on Instagram where he does a lot of home renovations, but it's all just blacking it out. He did one of those doors that you're talking about, painted it black, but then he put a scythe as the handle. It was pretty.
So
that was pretty metal.
Cool.
That's
I'm a sucker
cool
for that nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just it tends to, I think, as long as there are big giant mega churches, I think that there's still going to be a taste for this. But I do feel like when you look back at the, kind of the 70s, from like shag carpeting of the late 60s, early 70s that was there for our childhood. Like kids now are going to think about the Chip and JoJo whiskey and butterflies aesthetic as their shag carpeting.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's like an overcorrection, it feels like.
Yeah. It's like, hey, let's get real like rustic with it. I want to get back to that weird like mid-century ultra futuristic type of thing where everything's got to look like a dang old flying saucer.
Yeah,
Everything's
like the Astro
round
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's round. Everything's like kind of weird, like bold color decisions and stuff like that. I mean, trends are ebbs and flows. Everything's secular. But yeah, that mason jar just made me get on just a dang old rant about mason jars. But you know what? If you went to Target right now, I guarantee you go in there, you could find mason jars that are $8 a piece, and they have them selling them as flower vases or places to collect your odds and ends or something like that.
That's the difference between a Walmart and a Target. Target is selling it as decorations, and Walmart is selling it as practicality.
They're selling it as doomsday prepping.
That's right.
Anyway, guys, I'll jump next if you don't mind, because I got a very similar beer as Steve, which is a bit of a rarity here, but I'm drinking me a little Gloop Glop smoothie sour situation as well. I'm drinking a Fruit Rush from Hitchhiker Brewing Company. This is a smoothie sour shandy with blueberry, watermelon, and lemonade. And it looks like that. You know what I got?
Nice.
Looks like blood. That's why I got it. I'm a sucker for a beer. It looks like I'm drinking blood. Yeah, it's interesting because it smells pretty much just like blueberry lemonade type of thing. But it's real sweet. It's got a little bit of tartness to it. And you're getting a lot of that like country time lemonade mix type of thing, which is probably what they used in it. Tastes a lot like that, which I'm a sucker for, with a little bit of blueberry jammy type situation. But then the watermelon actually adds a little bit of like a drying, almost cucumbery watermelon rind type of thing to it. It's actually really nice.
Nice. Sounds very refreshing.
Yeah, it's normally not. It's a little sweet for me, but like to call it a sour shandy. But they do say smoothie sour shandy, so I get that means something very different. But yeah, I wish it was a little less sweet and a little less thick. But I know that's what the folks like, and it's. But yeah, I'm digging it.
Nice. I'm surprised neither of you are drinking your beer. Did you get a chance to get it yet? I don't have any yet. They just did the can release down in Frederick last week. I wasn't able to make it down for it. This was not one that. This was a collaboration we did, or I did. I went down and brewed with them at Old Mother Brewing in beautiful Frederick, Maryland. But hopefully I'll get my hands on some this week. But yeah, so that was fun. That was Pinball Lizard. That was our first. It was weird for the first official beer with the Dead Arcade, under the Dead Arcade umbrella, if you will, to be a collab. But it's the way it worked out. I thought it would be fun and got the opportunity to brew with those guys down there. So, yeah. And that one is more pink because it's a dragon fruit hazy than blood red, but it turned out real pretty. Nice. The guys down there were sending me pictures of it and we were talking about it and they said it turned out awesome. And hopefully I'm going to get my hands on some this week. And Steve, I'll grab you a few and I'll just grab a whole bunch of them. So,
yeah. Everybody down, Frederick, Maryland, go check it out.
Yeah, go to Old Mother in beautiful Frederick. They have a bunch of other good beers too. They had was it an Italian Pils? Maybe it was a French Pils when I was down there that was fucking killer too. And they're just nice folks and good food too. And they got some hot sauce out there, melt your dang dick off. At their brewery, they got like a little restaurant situation, like walk up service in the back, and they got really great food. And we were trying some hot sauces when I was down there. And good goddamn, they go wild on the hot sauce, like ghost pepper. Yeah, like I said, just burn your buttholes clean out. Just core you like a dang apple. Yeah,
sounds like exactly what you need, Brian.
Yeah. Sometimes I just need to everyone knows, for long-term listeners of the podcast, knows I got weak guts. I got soft, weak peanut butter guts.
You got to challenge them sometimes, though. Sometimes, show 'em who's boss. Sometimes
I got to say, listen to me, you goddamn whatever flesh tubings in there. You better start acting up. I'm gonna fuck your day. Just completely fuck it. Yeah, it's a real cut off your nose to spite your face situation.
Yeah.
What do you got, Meg?
Whoa, guys. All right. I have a little bit of an upper and a downer situation going on because I got to go back to work.
Yep.
So
cocaine in Iron City.
Close.
Danny's an Adderall.
On the one side of me, I got a nice refreshing Thai tea. You know, that bitch is bold, but with a citrus syrup instead of milk because...
Oh, interesting.
Gross. Yeah, it's
I'm
like
drinking coffee too, so we're on the same page here.
Yeah, it's like it kind of reminds me of like an Arnold Palmer with a little bit of a funk, you know, a little vanilla note. It's like neat. And my mouth is probably orange now. I know my hands already are. And then, of course, yes, you know, you answered correctly. I do have an Iron City on the other side of me.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people drinking the Thai. Is it like the... like Thai, it's an ice situation, right?
Correct. Mundo. Yeah.
Okay. When I think about the Thai, you know, I think about like the what are they called? The bubble teas.
The boba.
I like a boba, but I don't know a lot of other things about. I've had some Thai, you know, tea inspired beers. Don't they usually put like sweetened condensed milk or something in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the sweet cream that we use. Yeah, it's like we make a mixture that's like whole milk and sweetened condensed milk, but we also use it we do like a Vietnamese style cold brew too. And but it's like really bold.
I think that's more what I've had is the Vietnamese style. Yeah. But yeah, I love all them. They do all kind of magic stuff over there with teas and coffees over there in Southeast Asia.
It's real nice, real strong. Yeah. Keep me up all night.
Yeah, your eyes are bugging out your damn head. So Meg did that thing that like a Muppet does when something surprising happens, just make their eyes really big. All right, we got our beersies out of the way. Let's get in to spinning that some bitchin' wheel. One of my favorite things to do. And I'm curious, it somehow always seems that we end up with something that is somewhat pertinent to the season. Not always, but maybe it's the wheel speaking to us. Maybe that's just what ends up getting voted on. But I'm excited to see for July what we're going to get for our Showdown episode.
Right on. So the first one is Rage Virus.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right. I didn't even realize that was on the list. That is an interesting one.
Would be like the sadness kind of falls into that, even maybe.
Definitely the sadness falls into that. A 28 days later, even a 28 weeks later.
Oh my
basically
gosh.
Fast, crazy, freak out zombies.
Yeah.
Is the other way. So, you know, a lot of debate amongst the zombie purists as to whether or not you want to call it a zombie film. And have we done a zombie episode in the past?
I
know we've talked about a ton of different zombie movies.
I mean, besides like a singular film, I don't know if we did a showdown yet.
Yeah. Because I think we intentionally split it up for that reason, because the debate is, you know, a rage virus type situation might be a little. Maybe I'm thinking about when we had Rob Jabaz on and talked about the sadness, we might have had that conversation about the discrepancy.
Yeah. I think, you know, it probably came up and like we had, didn't we have something on Hungry for Horror that was a zombie film, or was that something that
I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what episodes we did there, but yeah, you're probably right. We've certainly talked about a whole host of zombie movies, and we've talked a lot about the Living Dead movies, and we're in Romero country over here, so you know we talk about that type of stuff often. But a rage virus is a very specific type of thing that is those kind of freak out running, just murderous sprinting, usually foaming at the mouth and something weird happening with their eyes type of zombies.
Yeah. I wonder if we could expand that to some other. We'd have to think about
like
it.
The crazies. Like, is that a rage virus?
Right.
That's a very different feel than the sadness or 28 weeks later, or even like Train to Busan. Is that a rage virus? That kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
You know?
And then maybe even That Happening by M. Night Shyamalan, you know?
Oh, the Shyamalan. Yeah. That's a self-inflicted rage situation.
Right.
But yeah, no, I would be open to allowing this to kind of spread a little bit. So, all right.
The virus.
If you will.
Because of viruses. All right. We'll talk about it a little bit more as these weeks progress here.
You got to vote it to see what happens. But
that's true. That's true.
Number 2 is Nickelodeon Halloween.
Oh, fun. Nickelodeon Halloween. And for those of yins who maybe haven't listened to the last few episodes, Meg's taken a bit of I would call it an indefinite hiatus from the podcast. I don't know why I'm talking like Ernest P. Worrell today, but she's got some very time consuming projects on her hands here, so she's going to be stepping away from the podcast and hopefully come back and periodically visiting us and doing a little guesting situation. But for this next Showdown episode, we'll be finding a guest for it, and maybe one of our friends from like the Haunted Hangover or something. It feels like they do a really cool. They'd have a lot of fun with Nickelodeon Halloween. Mm-hmm. So anyway, okay, I mean, been wanting to talk about that Pete and Pete Halloween special for a long time. All right, what's number 3?
And number 3, I believe this one has come up every year and has not been picked every year so far. Found footage.
Oh yeah, it always is in the, it's in the discussion. It gets some votes, but never gets picked. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Steve, not a found footage guy. We've talked about this. So if we want to dethrone Steve, because we're coming now, going into a potential for a 4th consecutive win.
Oh my God.
The good old grand salami.
That's what they call it. Eventually, it's going to become, guys, and I'm saying this, this is a cautionary warning, right? I guess all warnings are cautionary. But at some point, this is really going to bite us in the ass if we don't wrap our brains around this and try to figure out how to dethrone Steve. Eventually, it's going to become a real fucking problem for all of us. All right.
Do I smell collusion? Just
keep that in mind. Eventually, he's going to get drunk with power. He already is. You can't see what he's doing right now. He already is. It's going to become a real problem for all of us. So I'm just saying, Steve doesn't like found footage. But man, those other ones sound fun as well. So just to recap, we'll put these out here on the social medias this week. You'll get the opportunity to vote on them in the on the Instagrams. We put it in a little quiz in our story, our Instagram story, usually midweek there. So keep an eye out for it. Or on the Twitters, you can go on and vote on a little poll on our Twitter feed as well. Once again, you'll be selecting from Rage Virus, Nickelodeon Halloween, and found footage. Boy, a diverse trifecta of potential topics for the July Showdown episode. So, keep an eye out for that. Help us vote. And if you have any other suggestions, completely unrelated to any of those, that you want to throw our way, either for topics that you want us to add on the old spinny wheel. We always add them on there when people throw them our way. Or if you have some suggestions for Minisode topics, or even if you're like, hey, here's a wild ass fucking movie that y'all should talk about on the podcast. Maybe we'll make it a Minisode. We did that a couple episodes ago, and I actually watched a movie last night that was suggested from a listener. I don't remember who. A Toho movie called Attack of the Mushroom People, which was kind of fun. So we're always looking for those suggestions. Send them our way in the DMs or in a comment or something like that on the social medias, on the IGs, on the Twitters, on the Tiki-Talkies, all that sort of stuff. Or if you want to send us something on the social medias, I guess away from the social medias, on one of those emails I haven't mentioned in a while, it's halloweenisforeverpod@gmail.com. We do have one of those, which we need to, or I should probably get better at checking periodically, because we have had some stuff that was time sensitive, and then I went on and looked, and I was like, damn it, I should check this more than once every 3 months. All right, so we got our beersies out of the way. We got our picks for next month out of the way. So I'm gonna turn it over to Steve. Steve, tell us about this film. A real coming of age tale. Where were you at in your life? Where did this take place? What was the impetus for the creation of this movie?
The impetus was I had to for a grade to graduate.
Sick. Show over. Done. Let's get out of here.
That was it. Yeah. Yeah. So, right. Obviously, we already pointed out it's my Penn State thesis film. It's it's literally the last thing I directed. So,
from the year of our Lord 2007.
Yeah.
Can you clarify then for your a thesis piece? So this was a master's you're going after, or is it just okay?
No, this is basically how you can. So for at least for the Penn State program, the film program was like a restricted. It was a restricted communications degree that you could get.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to have like a certain amount of credits and like had to maintain a certain GPA and had to jump through a bunch of hoops to even like get into the film program. And then every kind of year that you, starting with the sophomore year, every kind of year you had to produce a film at the end.
Okay.
As a way to continue on. So, and like it got more and more complicated. So the senior one is one that was, you had to film over two halves of the year, 2 semesters. So like this was shot, like you can tell, from the outside, most of it was shot during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Because like then you spend, the rest of the time, like editing and everything. But you basically get thrown into it right away in the senior year. Is like, within the first week of back to school, like you're casting, you're writing, you're getting everything done. The first thing we did was like, we had to like write scripts. So you had to have like a script written within, I think within a month, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, like everybody who was able to write a script in that time presented their script. Everybody else who didn't write a script was able to choose like what movie they wanted to work on.
Got it.
So it's kind of like you pitched, everybody was pitching, everybody who had a script pitched a film essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I wrote this one and I had to take it in front of everybody and I like pitched it and it's like, here's this.
Mm-hmm.
So I should specify short film, but not like a short film. It's like 25 minutes long.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like a 5-10 minute film. It's 25 minutes.
Right.
So it's a, relatively beefy script. It's not, that's something to write in a short amount of time is, that's especially for a student. That's like, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I mean, some people are more prolific and can crank out scripts and that sort of stuff. But like I said, it's not a 5-minute movie. It's a 25-minute movie.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to be obnoxious and toot my own horn about this, but I was actually able to crank out 2 scripts in that time.
Oh, buddy.
And they're like, I pitched 2 scripts and like one of them I didn't even make. A whole other separate crew took that script.
Okay, so both of them ended up getting made.
Yeah, both of them wound up getting made, but I didn't I had nothing. I had almost no hand in the making the other one other than I just wrote a script.
Were they both kind of horror-ish type films?
Yeah, they were both kind of horror-ish. The other one was like more of a thriller type film.
Okay.
But it was like at this point, because it was a restricted major and everything, there were so few students, like everybody kind of knew everybody already. And not to say it was cliquish, but everybody already kind of had a group that they liked working with.
Sure.
It's like picking your team and when you're playing dodgeball or stuff like that, you're just like, I want you, and then everyone's left at the end and you're like, wow, okay, losers, go over there on the same team.
Right. So mostly everybody already had a team that they liked working with. And then at that point, just like whoever had a script was going to get made as long as you had like a crew of 5. Because
Gotcha.
that's basically what it took, was like a crew of 5 to make these films.
Mm-hmm.
What I can't help but ask, what was the title of the other script?
I honestly can't fucking remember.
Yeah,
I can tell you the basic plot premise. The plot premise was, like basically this guy was like in a room being tortured, and then you saw flashes to some other like relationship he was having. And like, basically it was just like, he went to hell because he was like bad to a person. So
he's not classic, not cool guy story.
Yeah. Classic, not cool guy. And then like, it's the twist that is revealed that like, oh, he's in hell.
Gotcha. Or some real Clive Barker-esque shit.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I started watching this. Steve put it on the YouTubes, which you can watch still. You can go on the YouTubes and search Ghoul of My Dreams 2007, and it'll come up. Right off the bat, you had me at drippy green slime font.
Right?
Like, I'm gonna be 100% on board with any drippy green slime font right off the bat. I like the decision, very 2007 decision to go with like the kind of retro filter over it, like it was like it was a film, like it was an old timey film.
Yeah,
even the music to start with it too. They're just like, like it's great.
So like that piece, and I like these are things I'll point out, but like because you're working with such small crews and everything, obviously half of the music is fucking Goblin that I just ripped. But some of the more original pieces, like this one in the beginning, was written by Ryan DeNardis, and Ryan is also in the film as one of the goons. He's the one wearing like the blue windbreaker.
Yeah.
Like so,
wasn't it like I wrote it down? Chester and something.
Chester and something else. I forgot what.
Chester and Joey.
Yeah, Chester and Joey. And I forget
which are like the two least intimidating goons. This just reminded me so much of, because I was in college in 2007 as well, and it just reminded me of all my friends from college.
Right.
Like we probably I feel like we had a similar type of friend. Like they just stopped playing Halo just long enough to like shoot the scene kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I had friends that if we lined them up, it would almost be like a Simpsons gag. They could just be, they just had like different hair color.
Yeah.
But Chester and Joey cracked me up because, and we'll get into, the characters they play, but the kind of, I guess, antagonist of the film, which is, Angie's boyfriend, they're like his thugs,
right?
But they're like, you can just tell they're just nice guys. Like they're not thugs.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like the other one is Nick Santiago, and he like was my best friend in college. So like he actually helped a lot on this film in a lot of different ways. But like back to this animated sequence is And like we did have to pay for a lot of things. So I'll tell you, like the budget on this film was about $1,000.
Yeah.
For, and like I think that's okay considering we didn't pay any of the actors because all the actors were students as well. And we didn't have to pay any equipment fees because, Penn State provided all the equipment. Yeah. So with that, like $1,000 for getting like a piece of animation done, which was kind of contracted out to the producer on the film, Ryan. He knew somebody who was getting into Flash animation. So, we kind of storyboarded this thing out to him and gave it to him. And it's been a while since I watched this film, but I actually really, really like, and I forgot that we did the match cut from the animation to the front of a house. And that house, but the front of that house was also my friend Nick's house. So
that's what I was going to ask is like, a couple things I wrote down initially was like, who did the animation? Because I thought it was really well done. And then I saw at the end there was a name associated with it, which obviously wasn't your, because at first I was like, oh, wow, did Steve do this animation? That's incredible. But then I saw a name associated with it that I didn't recognize. But I thought the whole animation sequence was really cool. They did the little artsy, the snowflake that melts into a teardrop type of thing. I thought it was really well done. And then the matching to the house, which was the house, the exterior house that wasn't, or was that the same house that all the interior house shots were in? No, I assume probably not.
So the house that Cliff and Jeff live in is actually comprised of 3 different houses. So, and this is kind of the way because things were shot over 2 semesters. So the front of that house is a house in Bellefonte, PA.
Just north of State College.
Right. Yeah. So we shot pretty much all of the exterior stuff in Bellefonte. And that front of that house was, like I said, my friend's Nick's house, but also the interiors that are like the bedroom, the bathroom, and the basement were my friend Nick's house that he lived in before he moved. So like he was living in one house in one semester and we were shooting there. And then the next semester we shot the outside of his new house.
So when he was like looking to sign a new lease, you're like, can you try to get a place that looks a little bit like your old place? At least kind of.
So, and then the other interiors though, which we were glad we didn't have to switch, or we were glad we were able to shoot outside of Nick's house. But the other interiors you see was actually like a frat house.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it seemed like that's what it kind of seemed like to me because it was so ornate and old and like, just like kind of slightly extravagant in the way that if you've been to like any like Penn State or larger college like fraternity houses are. They're like old freaking bajillion-dollar mansions that some fraternity bought, and and they usually keep them up fairly well. Despite what like my house in college, you could like feel the breeze through the wall when you were pissing. Like these are usually pretty kept up, very expensive houses. Obviously it's at a campus like Penn State, but it was a cool interior. It had like the like spirally staircase and all that.
Yeah. So our lighting guy Adam was actually the president of that frat chapter, which I don't remember, but that's why we were able to have access to a frat house to shoot in. And then we had to shoot during the afternoons because that's when all the bros are out. So yeah.
You don't need games of beer pong and flip cup happening in the background while you're trying to do some serious ghouling. Yeah. Set us up a little bit on the story of this before we get into it. The characters and what, kind of the setup.
So the setup was like, it originated as we wanted to do a horror film, but yeah, it was going to be hard to do a full horror film. So kind of came up with this schmaltzy idea of like, what if it's also like kind of a romantic comedy? Because also it's 2007, so I think we're 2 years removed from Shaun of the Dead at that point. So we're doing rom-zom-com.
Oh yeah, you can see the influence. It was 2000. It was very of its time. Yeah.
And so I just kind of came up with this idea of like, well, let's kind of play with maybe other monsters, and like, we came up with the idea of like, well, what if it's ghouls meeting zombies? You kind of try to build this underworld of like, oh, there's all kinds of undead, and we make mention of vampires, so like you get an idea of all the monsters are real, and they just kind of live just beneath the surface and out of the light.
People are very opinionated about their the rules around zombiedom and vampiredom, I guess, but people don't talk about the rules around ghouls, the ghoul rules, if you will.
The ghoul rule.
You don't really talk about them too much, and like I imagine if even like people who are like horror fans, if you're put them on the spot, be like, describe what a ghoul is. I don't know that a lot of people would be able to accurately differentiate what a zombie and a ghoul.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and that's what I was trying to set out to do. So like the idea is a ghoul is a person who does eat the flesh of the dead, so they're not a cannibal, but also they haven't died, so they're not a zombie. And they typically
seem to have a little bit more agency than a zombie. Like their brain function is higher. Obviously, in this instance, it's like they're just like regular dudes.
Right. Yeah, they're just a couple of dudes who like
dead sexy.
Yeah.
Dudes, let's be real.
So they live together, and like it's not. They don't necessarily live together because like they're best of friends. They just live together out of like necessity. And
yeah, we both eat corpses.
Yeah.
We probably should team up on this.
Right. We can just bro out that way, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting because I always like, for whatever reason, when I think of a ghoul, the first thing I think of is the Last Man on Earth.
Right. Yeah.
I think about it's the Omega Man, but then it was the Charlton Heston Omega Man movie, and then it eventually became it's based on is it Bradbury who wrote I Am Legend? I'm trying to remember who originally wrote I Am Legend.
I don't know if it's Bradbury, but
no, maybe not. That doesn't sound right now that I think about it. But anyway, there was the novel. I believe
Matheson.
It was Matheson. Yeah, I'm literally looking at a Richard Matheson book right here. Yes, so Richard Matheson, which we just talked about this on a recent episode. Pretty much every like such a high percentage of horror, sci-fi, speculative fiction ideas came from Richard Matheson, and people don't really talk about that, and we just talked about it in the other episode and I still forgot, but yeah, so he wrote I Am Legend, which got turned into a bunch of different movies, like I said, Omega Man, and then The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is in my mind a very close representation of a ghoul, where they're almost halfway between a zombie and a vampire. Like they are there is elements around like they're repelled by garlic, and they don't. It's not that they don't have a reflection in a mirror, but they are repelled by their own reflection. And they can kind of talk a little bit and stuff like that, but they move very slowly and they're very like kind of weak and have like poor motor skills, and they just come out at night, but they don't suck your blood like a vampire, and they don't have any of the other kind of powers of a vampire. But there's not as many hard, fast rules around ghouls as there are the other ones, I guess, in my opinion. But so
yeah, I mean, even if you just look it up, like a ghoul has like 3 different definitions just from like the internet. And
Merriam-Webster defines a ghoul as.
And I think we kind of started with that because I think we also recognize like we don't really know what a ghoul is. And I'll be honest, the punny title probably came first.
Oh, of course. You could definitely tell this started with a title.
Yeah. And I think the punny title came first, and then we said, well, like maybe let's get it down, like what is a ghoul? And so, the first 2 things that come up as definitions is like somebody who feeds on corpses, which is like it is an old lore, and the other is a grave robber. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's easy enough to kind of put together. We didn't dive too much into like the real lore of where a ghoul comes from, but we just,
Yeah, I honestly didn't know either. I mean, I think in Last Man on Earth, it's like radiation or something,
right? Yeah,
because it was I guess early 60s was it?
Yeah.
So like everything's radiation back then, like nuclear age stuff. But then they mention in this movie that it's like either if you drink the blood of a vampire.
Yeah. So it's like the reverse way. Yeah. We're like, because I don't know. I was probably just being cute or whatever.
Yeah. Or you get a tainted blood transfusion,
right? From a vampire as well.
Yeah, because you get this little scene, which I guess the characters you get introduced to pretty early on are Cliff, which I think is short for Clifton.
Yeah. Clifton, Jeff, and then Angelina are the 3 main characters, and it's obviously we glossed over it, but Clifton digs up Angelina's body, thinking he's going to eat her. But then just something bothers him about eating her and decides to resurrect her. In that scene where they have the Mobu, who's also playing kind of the stereotypical pothead. That was also Nick's wife at the time.
You
Okay.
and Nick
like
are real close.
Yeah.
Did he actually? I feel like he should just be credited for this inspiration for this movie at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like Nick and I were like huge horror fans. So, that's why like we were way into it was also kind of a surprisingly a lot of the professors were very against anybody doing horror films at any point. Yeah. And
interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know what it was. They just felt like nobody could pull off horror. And I think what they were more focusing on is like, and they were right about this, is that like nobody could properly build tension. Obviously all the actors were student actors, and you can tell, kind of the varying degrees of like, so like my main leads who were playing Angelina and Clifton, like they were the best actors, which it's pretty obvious. Even today, Ryan, who played Clifton, he actually still acts in Pittsburgh. He does a lot of stage, and then he does some like independent films in the area. So like he still acts to the day. And then the other actor, Blythe, she was like going for an acting degree. Yeah. Everybody else kind of just showed up.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, you could tell the voodoo priestess who just smokes weed. Like that's what it is.
And that was her bong. So
BYOB for sure.
The character was inspired by real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cliff decides he doesn't want to eat Angie. They bring her back to life, and then there's the whole sequence of her kind of being confused. She doesn't realize she died in the first place. They kind of explain to her that she's dead, and they brought her back to life, and that they are ghouls, but they're not going to hurt her. And there was a good line that was something like, she's like, "Were you going to kill me and eat me? Because you're ghouls." And he's like, "Why would we dig you up, bring you back to life just to kill you and eat you? Like, that doesn't make any sense." But and then, as she's kind of, and I hope I'm not glazing over too much, but her and Cliff start to kind of develop feelings for one another. One thing that for some reason just tickled me was, I think it's the character's name's Tyler. Is that Angie's boyfriend? Yeah. Angie has this kind of shitbag, I don't want to say ex-boyfriend, but boyfriend from when she was alive, named Tyler, who, when you first meet him, he's waking up in the morning, getting a coffee cup out, pouring what looks like whiskey and Sam's Club Cola into the cup. And I just, for something about Sam's Club Cola just being prominently displayed, really, that was just a real world building
was that also
angle
Nick's? There. Like, he just bought that and you was like, "Hey, I need a new prop."
No, any food in the film was crafty as well.
Yeah.
So that was probably bought day of, and then that was also for the cast to drink during the day.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, the Sam's Cola. I don't know why that was just an angle that tickled me, because it just felt like something would be on a film set. I think a Sam's Club Cola.
Yeah.
But so we talked about the ghoul thing a little bit. I did find it interesting that even ghouls are pretty judgy about Satanists in this world. Like, we're ghouls, we eat corpses, we're not Satanists.
Yeah. I mean,
that was a good line.
Hey, everybody's like, and you have to imagine at this point, like, they would even believe even more that the devil is real. So the devil is a bad guy. So like,
I guess that's true too. Because they have been, their life has been affected in some way by, at least by vampires. I guess you're meant to believe in some capacity. But I really got a kick out of another friend, or was this an actor or something like that? The guy who played Tyler.
Oh no, this was an actor who showed up. Yeah. Oliver. He just we had casting calls of like a bunch of people, and like they just had to show up to a fucking random room we scheduled. We're like, had to schedule a classroom and do fucking like but
did they have to audition?
Yeah. We had a bunch of people audition. We had like a number of people audition for Clifton, and I think Oliver auditioned for Clifton as well. But I don't know. He just had a bad guy vibe as well. So
he did. That's what I was gonna say. Is he did have a mean boyfriend vibe. Yeah. He kind of had that bad kid look to him too, right. Like the buzz cut.
Yeah.
Clifton had this innocence to him. Or the guy who played him, like, just had this like general like. Trying to think of the right word. Disarming.
Yeah.
He had a Michael Cera quality to him.
Yeah.
Also, just like physicality wise, like Oliver was like the tallest person we had. So so like
height says a lot.
Yeah. We had one other person who auditioned for Clifton who was like about Oliver's height, but Ryan was the best actor we got out of all that. So it's like, kind of got to give to him. And then, but like Oliver cuts a more intimidating, when you match him up against Jeff and Clifton, he's, bigger than him and has a knife. So that makes sense.
Yeah, you give him a knife. And especially if you're going to go, the guy who played Clifton has like I said, he's got a little bit of a Scott Pilgrim vibe to him a little bit, except for redneck, which was an interesting decision to make him go kind of redneck.
Yeah. Well, that camo hat was my camo hat, so
I just imagine in the audition when you're like going after the bad boyfriend, you just like, here, hold this knife, and then you just like try to figure out how he looks with a knife. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been a big key factor for me.
Did when you guys had him audition for the bad guy, did he come in with a boombox just blaring 105.9 The X like it does when he comes on screen the first time?
He says he really loves Mark Madden too.
No.
And also, that's somebody else's voice. That's not the X.
I know, it just sounded like a song that would be on the X, when he comes on, we plays.
Yeah. Now, if you read the credits, there was because we were doing, I don't know, we just didn't know what we were doing for sound at that point, but we needed to quickly do an exposition dump, and the best way to do that is through the radio. So
yeah.
So, it probably makes no surprise that I'm doing podcast now, but yeah, I was like, I'm going to do the cheesy radio voice. Mm-hmm. And, we have the morning show of Poe and Lovecraft in the morning.
I know. I got that one too. Real deep cut references there.
Yeah,
I
right.
love it. 2007. Yeah, so you do start to get little bits of Angie's story, which I thought was good. And like I said, you're doing this all in a tight 23 minutes or something like that. But yeah, this is when I like I said, I just fell in love, immediate love affair with Biff and Buff or whatever whatever Tyler's
Chester and Joey
are. Chester and Joey. They just, for some reason, they just crack me up because they just look so not mean, which is what I love about them.
Yeah, it's the best. And again, that was filmed. The first introduction to Chester and Joey was filmed in a park in Bellefonte. Mm-hmm. And I forget what the fuck Nick was saying in that scene, but he was always just like carrying on a conversation in the background. We just let it go. He was just like, oh man, Halo 3 just came out. It's fucking sick. Yeah. It was always something like that. He was like talking about Resident Evil or some shit.
Yeah. We didn't talk too much about the person that plays Jeff, but now was he also, I got the feeling at first, was he also like a redneck kind of character, like Cliff, or not so much? He didn't have the redneck accent.
Yeah, not really.
But he did have the white tank.
Yeah.
Which kind of insinuates redneck culture.
Yeah, I think like the general Jets and Sharks stereotype idea was that like the ghouls were supposed to be white trash, and like Tyler matches it because his character is wearing the leather jacket and everything. He was supposed to be a broy, and then like it kind of falls apart because Chester and Joey are dressed completely differently as well.
They got like windbreakers on or something.
We didn't have the budget for like costuming in that way, so. But like, yeah, it was supposed to be kind of a Jets and Sharks like bros versus like white trash hillbillies, type thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, Jeff pulls it off. He's got the beard, obviously, which would have been not as, beards were not as in fashion in 2007 with the guys as they are nowadays, I guess. But yeah, when you see a guy with the skin tight, white tee or white tank on, at some point he's going to get into a fight.
Yeah,
at some point in the movie, he's going to clock somebody with something.
Yeah.
And also he's looking
irrationally
at porn.
too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like irrationally.
Yeah.
I also was. This begs another question regarding ghoul culture. Do ghouls get horny? Do ghouls fuck? Because Jeff, you would suggest. I mean, he's looking at centerfolds. He's looking at porn mags. Which, for those of you kids out there nowadays who are listening to that, this is when porn used to be on in actual physical print.
Yeah, like Blockbuster, you used to be able to hold pornography in your hands.
Yeah.
Which I think those Playboys were just on set because, again, it was a frat house. Yeah. So, yeah, I think those were just on set.
I would imagine nowadays, and I don't even think there are physical Playboy magazines anymore.
I don't know.
But if there are, I'm going to say 80% of the remaining subscriptions are frat houses.
Yeah.
And the other 20% are people above the age of 65.
Yes.
But it was kind of a weird, I don't know if it was nostalgia or not, but just to see a physical porn magazine.
Yeah, right.
I don't think I've seen one since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Or at least since I was in college, maybe.
I haven't seen one since 2007. So. But I mean, you have to imagine if you're making the conceit that the one ghoul is trying to like has some sort of emotional feelings, for Angie, then like I guess you just assume that the other one also gets horny. Like they get boners. They're not dead, so the blood still flows.
Yeah, that's true. They are not zombies. So yes, ghouls get horny. That's what we're learning here from this. And if you don't take anything else away from it, just remember that ghouls get horny. Yeah. Ghouls get horny too.
Get your lore correct.
Yeah. I loved also the and it was only brief, and I actually kind of laughed out loud at it because when I guess I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but Tyler and his to his reluctant thugs who whenever he's like, you guys are gonna go beat their asses or something like that, that just them standing there just really felt like they're like, we don't want to. But then they pretty much let it go, and they make some comment about like Tyler is drunk, and because he's like, it's in the morning and he's like swigging out of a flask, and you get the idea he's always kind of drinking. And then they see, or Tyler thinks he sees Angie and walking with some unknown person. And they're like, what do you mean your dead girlfriend is out walking? It's like, you're drunk. Shut up. And
he might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which reminds me of Steve's from 2000 Maniacs, where back in the 50s and 60s, they would, and even in like Looney Tunes, they would suggest that like being drunk would make you hallucinate.
Yeah. You'd see elephants. You'd see all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Like if you just got drunk enough, you would trip balls.
Yeah.
But and then eventually they do see Cliff out, by himself, and they kind of jump him, and you get poised for this big chase scene. And you get chase music, which I was like, oh, great chase music. And then the chase is like 4 seconds, not even 2 seconds long. They're just like, he looks like he's gonna run, but then they're like, nah, I gotcha.
Yeah, you can't
snag him up.
It's like one of those. Where can we cut? Where can we cut like some time here? Oh yeah, the chase scene. Done.
The chase scene.
Absolutely.
We just ran around the block once. Then we're good.
Absolutely, can't go running around the streets of Belfont at night. What's the matter with you? It's a nice white town.
Yeah, you're gonna get arrested. In a second.
I will say though, I think just because it's all natural lighting, I don't know what it is, but revisiting it, I really like that scene in the alleyway.
It is. It's cool. It's just like there's a street light right there.
And then just deeper, you can see deep down the alleyway to like the other street lights that are, different color temperatures. I was like, oh, that's really nice. I did a good job.
Yeah. And it reminded me of, and I was wondering where this got shot, because that felt like with the streets, like on the pretty steep angle, it almost reminded me. I assumed it was like in State College or something, but it's, just a neighboring town, but it definitely was reminiscent of that area. Yeah. But I did like that scene a lot. Yeah. So Tyler forces Cliff to take him back to Angie. And instead of being like, you're dumb, what are you talking about? I don't know your dead girlfriend. Cliff's just like, welp, I guess I should take him back. And they go back.
He has a knife, Brian.
He does. But what he's asking for could be like so easily refuted.
Right.
What do you mean? Where do you want me to take you? Who? Your dead girlfriend? But Cliff's just like, you got me. I am hanging out with your dead girlfriend. Let's go back to her house. But then this is where the climactic scene happens, where Angie, questionable morals here, she just lets Biff and Boof take him downstairs and beat him wail on him. I guess he is a ghoul, whatever. It's
was there something magical about this knife that we just didn't know about?
No, just a knife.
Sick. Got it.
Yeah. But they have a real heart-to-heart, Angie, and Angie's starting to remember what happened. And big reveal, climactic reveal, this is just a big sad promo. And I mean S period A period D period D period. Students Against Drunk Driving. Because Angie died in a drunk driving incident with Tyler. So Tyler was hammered, crashed the car, assumedly into some body of water, and she drowned.
Yeah, I gave her the old Ted Kennedy.
Yeah. The old Teddy K. Yeah. So, but it all comes, the memories come flooding back to her. Tyler's like, no, bro, it was an accident. And she's like, no, you killed me. And then Jeff comes to the rescue with the axe, pops Biff and Boof in the back of the head, and Cliff gets away. But then not before Cliff is stabbed at some point, right?
I mean, he's beaten up. They break his arm. They smash his face into the...
Oh, yeah. They beat the shit out of him in the basement. Yeah.
The other one got stabbed.
Yeah,
though.
Jeff gets stabbed.
Jeff's the one that gets stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, we got the good gut scene,
Yeah, well, at the end, yeah, that's the best part. They get the scene of basically Angie kind of saving... Angie and Jeff like carrying Cliff into the bathroom, and he's in bad shape. He's in the bathtub, and Cliff, she's like, "Hey, what are we gonna do? How can I help you?" Jeff, is out. I forget why Jeff leaves, but Jeff leaves at some point. They're in the bathroom, and it's like I said, like the kind of Tyler is banging at the door. Let me in. I'm a mean boyfriend, saying mean boyfriend stuff.
I'm a bad guy.
Yeah. So help me.
I've got a knife.
So help me, woman, saying stuff outside. And, and Cliff's like, I need flesh. And bold decision. Now she is the undead. She is technically a zombie. So I guess this makes sense, but bold decision. She just feeds him a couple of her own fingers. Just says, here. Sticks her fingers in the mouth. You bite these off.
Couple fingies.
Which, of course, he does. Yeah, it gives him, bites off a couple fingies.
Zombie fingies. Ooh, horror-themed restaurant idea. Zombie fingies.
We actually do have
zombie tendies.
Tendies. We do have that joke on an upcoming can art that Steve created for Dead Arcade, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like Popeye in his spinach, basically, at that point. And then all the smoke starts to come up, which, Steve, you're going to have to explain the smoke.
Man, I don't know.
You're going to have to fess up for the smoke and explain the smoke to me.
It was just a fun stylistic thing. Just an idea of like, hey, it's restorative. We can't show he doesn't have any visible injuries to begin with. Yeah, so we have to show like that he's, coming back to life. And we did it with a fun lighting change and a smoke machine. How are you mad at that?
I would have loved to have done I would have loved to have seen the like like Popeye situation. But yes, it is, like I said, it's a fun effect. And Cliff comes back to life. Opens up the door, confronts Tyler, just gives him a good old belly slug, which was like the ultimate equalizer in like 70s movies, which I loved. It's just like, if you really want to just do the worst thing you can to somebody, you punch them real hard in the stomach.
Punch them in the tummy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just give me an old tummy punch. And then you think, and I don't know if this is intentional, you can tell me, you get this idea that they're out on the front porch, and it's Angie, it's Cliff, and it's Jeff, and then you've got Tyler and Biff and Boof out on the street, and they're like, "We'll get you next time, Gadget," kind of thing. And they're like, "We don't." He's like, "What are you gonna do? Kill us or something?" He's like, "We don't kill people. We just recycle the bodies."
Oh yeah.
And then Jeff pulls his guts out, which this scene, we completely didn't even mention this, is in 3D. So you do get a little bit of a fun upfront, pre-credit sequence where it basically says, like, when you see this icon, put on your 3D glasses. So there is a 3D element of this, which I want to talk about here in the session. Sure. But
did you wear 3D glasses, Brian? You seem like a person who would own 3D glasses and have them on the ready.
I definitely own 3D glasses, but I could not find 3D glasses. So no, I did not put on 3D glasses, unfortunately. But tell us about the scene and like what were the big 3D elements of it? Because we got a 3D smooch, we got a 3D gut pull, and we got one other significant 3D thing that happened too. I guess it was them standing on the porch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Probably, huh?
So and then the following sequence has a lot of 3D stuff too, of like stuff coming at the camera. So yeah, again, like I mentioned, because the production time on this is so protracted, and we had 2 semesters, Because I mean, usually most people, when they shoot a short film, they try to do it like in a fucking month, if not less. You know, but like, because you're a student, you don't have any money, and everybody has a schedule to keep, you're basically relegated to shooting on the weekends. And then if you're not shooting, you're editing. And so it was one of these things where Penn State had like a brand new facility they just built within the past year or two for film students. It was called Innovation Park. And like, that's where everybody went to rent their equipment or edit, and just like, but you had to drive off campus for it. And the one thing we didn't want to do is we didn't want to reveal any of the effects that we were doing for the film, because so many people didn't believe in a horror film, because like, you're technically not allowed to make a horror film, and it's because they don't believe you can do the effects for it. And we're like, well, fuck that, we're going to do it. But then we're also not going to show anybody anything until the very last minute, until we have to. So we decided we're going to edit in a secret lab on campus. And we were in this art building, and the art building had Adobe After Effects on it. And this is like a complete just happenstance thing of us deciding to do 3D. Is Ryan, the producer and editor on the film, he was editing on a computer next to me, and I was just playing on a computer, just looking at After Effects, and noticed that they had a 3D setting. And it gave you, it's an obsolete thing now, but it gave you the stereoscopic 3D editing. And I was like, oh, you can do a camera A, camera B. And I was like, hey, check this out. Look, you can do 3D editing. You can edit a 3D film. And he's like, oh, that's fucking crazy. Do you think we should try that? And I was like, I think we should try that. So the next thing I had to do was like figure out how to fucking film in 3D. And I built a tripod specifically for filming in 3D, because you have to measure a specific distance between two cameras. And so we rented out two of the same camera and mounted them on this special tripod I built just to film everything. And then I had to learn After Effects to take everything in. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that was my next question, is like, how the hell do you how the hell do you, at that time as well, like, how do you even do that? How do you even shoot for 3D? So just the other big hurdle was finding 3D glasses, and we were prepared to buy them. I think it was going to be like almost $300 for a case of glasses or anything, because like at the end of the semester, at the end of the year, they have a student film festival, and they rent out like it was, I don't know if it's still there, I assume it is, but it was like the biggest theater in the I think it's downtown, but they rent out like the biggest theater in State College, and then like everybody's invited to come down, and it's a free film festival. It like, it's a 2-tier, they have a balcony and everything, so that's cool. Shitload of people. But we would have had to have provided 3D glasses for all of those people. So we had to,
for something like that. Sorry to interrupt about like that presentation. Is that ever a time where like, I don't know, producers and stuff like that would come into the city to kind of see this, to see kind of what kind of talent's out there? Is that not really a thing for like,
I would say not really. Not really. No.
Okay.
No. I mean, not for Penn State. Maybe for another film program, but not for Penn State.
Yeah, it was like USC or something, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's definitely Penn State film alums, I'm sure, that have like went on to do two big things, stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty. Penn State, for those of you who are not from Pennsylvania, it's the State College in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Right.
There's like, Pennsylvania's got Pittsburgh on one side, Philly on the other side, and then a whole bunch of fucking nothing right in between, except for State College.
Yeah.
And Harrisburg. And even then, those are like, they're small towns.
Yeah, that's about it. But yeah, so the solve for the 3D glasses wound up being, we went to a local theater that was just kind of like a dollar cinema or whatever. And we're asking them about that, and they had a whole case of glasses left over from Lava Boy and Shark Girl. Yeah, and they just gave us an entire case of 3D glasses because they're like, we can't use the movies out of it.
That's what I was gonna say. That's exactly where my head would have went as well. Is I'm like, so many theaters have boxes of branded ones or whatever just sitting in the back. They're like, what the fuck are we going to do with these? And if there's ever another release, they're going to give us more. So like, what the fuck are we going to do with these? They've just been sitting there collecting dust.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our solve for that. But we just got really lucky that way.
Yeah. And then, interestingly enough, they kind of do this whole thing of like, no, we're just going to let you guys go and we're just going to freak you out. And the whole like kind of almost freak out, almost Beetlejuicy type of scene is Jeff just pulling out his own guts and like flopping his guts out on the ground, which I guess my first question was who did the practical effects for the guts?
So I did the practical effects for the guts, but also in that scene, they weren't practical. Like,
oh, really? See, I couldn't tell because I didn't have the 3D glasses on, so you can't really see a lot. Like you just see, they just kind of look blurry on the screen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even think that part is in 3D. But
I think it was.
No, it's the one thing that cut away because it couldn't be practical. Like there's practical elements, but it didn't play right. Like it just because it was originally like a couple nylon stockings full of stuff, and then it was dyed all red. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't look right when he did it. So there was another thing of like learning After Effects. I animated all that with keyframes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's probably why I was thinking of it as like, because, when you're watching, I mean, for those of you who might have seen it before, when you're watching something in 3D and you don't have the glasses on, it has like kind of a blurry, the red blues, the red, blue, green, yellows kind of stick out a little bit. But yeah, I'm probably thinking about the animation. But anyway, they kind of did this like freak out scene. They all like run away, like scared. But then they also just end up killing Tyler and eating him.
No, a bear kills Tyler and then they eat him.
A bear.
I thought I would say it's heavily suggested that they killed Tyler and are eating them. And you get this like fairly extended scene in 3D of them just munching on Tyler's limbs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was cute with Angel's or Angie's food. It looked like salad. So she wasn't actually, she was like, but it was like this, some sort of flesh, but it looked like a salad. And I was like, that's a cute little callback.
Yeah, it's a salad with a finger in it.
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's how I kind of figured it was a finger or something, but you couldn't really tell. Like I said, with the 3D, you couldn't really tell. But and then that's the flicky. Here's the ultimate. The question is, what was your grade? What'd you get on it? Did you pass the class?
Oh yeah, of course I passed. I mean, yeah, I got it.
Well, you got the degree.
I got the degree, so I passed.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember what the grade was. I think it was at least like a B+ or an A.
Yeah.
It was more about just making like my professors who were so adamant against horror movies, like I mean, and these were the kind of professors you drank with, so it was just more about making them admit that you could do
say mercy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, like, I agree. Like, it's really hard to do like the tension building and the timing and the acting and everything. But it's like all the effects we did, I think, were like spot on. Like of anything that I'll defend, I'll always defend our effects.
Yeah. What were some of, just out of curiosity, what were some of the other types of movies that you saw in this, 2007 senior class of films?
I was racking my brain trying to remember like what the films were. I can only remember one vividly because it didn't get finished. And like that group actually kind of got in trouble, but it was meant to be kind of like a play that was like a retelling of the Bible in a queer way. So like it was supposed, like they did do like an Adam and Steve. They were doing like skits from the Bible. And so like one of them was like Adam and Steve and like, but like I remember that one simply because it didn't get finished. Nobody knows what they were doing. Like it didn't come out very well. And then there's another film I remember that I don't remember I don't remember what the film was about, but I just remember that it was filmed on film.
Mhm.
So like these were the kids that had like money to.
That was my question is like, where did they have some cash? Did they get a grant, or was it just like, because students, it's like when I was, probably around this time too, it was like 2005, 2007, around this time when I really started getting into home brewing, and it's like, oh, I made a pale ale. Next thing is a bourbon barrel aged, cacao, and cocoa nib, vanilla, Russian Imperial Stout. And then it's just fucking god awful. I feel like that's such a, late teens, early 20s, student thing to do, is like, we don't really know what we're doing, so let's do the most difficult thing possible.
Yeah. There was like grant money that was going around. Like it's mentioned, we had to put it in our credits if we got grant money.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can see in my credits, there's it's called the Carmen Finestra Film Fund.
I saw that. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that was. But.
And like Carmen Finestra was like he's a Penn State alum, and I believe he was either the writer or creator of Home Improvement.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So two of the more famous Penn State alums that you would know in Hollywood would be Carmen Finestra and Donald P. Belisario.
Okay.
Belisario is kind of he's the guy that's behind like JAG and NCIS.
Okay.
Like so yeah. But yeah, Carmen Finestra was like a producer on Home Improvement, The Cosby Show, some other, less problematic things. So but we submitted scripts, and I believe he read the scripts, and then like the grant, they kind of doled out like how much money you got based on your script.
Yeah.
And you also had to like kind of not like a business plan, but sort of like a business plan. And you had to tell them how you were going to film it.
Mm-hmm.
So like we knew from the start we were always going to do digital because we had these effects built in.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we weren't going to get a lot of takes with the effects. So we couldn't also be worrying about like, did we capture the light right?
Right.
We got to be more worried about like the effects than the actual film. So they knew we were going to film on video, but then like I was mentioning, there was this other film that was shot all on 35. And so like I think they got like a grant of like almost 1,000, close to 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got like 400 to do our effects budget. So
yeah.
So yeah, there was help for students.
Well, I don't mean to brag, but my undergrad alum, which is Youngstown State University, our most famous and notable alumnus is Ed O'Neill, who they brought back, I guess, came and did a talk at like commencement one time and just talk shit on all the like administration, and then banned him. He's never allowed back. So Al Bundy himself. So just Tim Allen and Al Bundy. I mean, between the two, those are two of the most problematic TV dads maybe of all time.
Al Bundy's still fine. He didn't like rape anybody.
Well, Tim Allen. Wait, did Tim Allen rape somebody?
Oh, well, no, but I mean, Tim Allen as a real person isn't good.
No, he's not that cool. And Tim Allen, I know he went to jail for dealing coke.
Right.
But Ed O'Neill, yeah. Al Bundy was just more, as a character, slightly problematic.
Yeah, Ed O'Neill as a person is fine.
Yeah.
Also, just to jump back again, I'm not, nothing against Carmen Finestra, but I'm far more a Belisario fan because he also created Quantum Leap and Magnum PI. So.
Oh, there you go. Quantum Leap, underappreciated show. Underappreciated show. All right, guys, that was Steve's senior thesis film, Ghoul of My Dreams from 2007. What a treat to see into the young mind of Steve in the early to mid 2000s. once again, let me remind yins, if you haven't already made a note in your phone, write it down on your calendar, tie a string around your fingy, whatever you got to do. Help us vote. This week, you will see on our Instagram story as well as our Twitter feed for a little quizzy situation. You can select what our showdown topic is going to be for the month of July. Once again, just to remind you, Rage Virus is the first potential topic. Nickelodeon Halloween, number 2, and number 3. Found footage. We're going to give found footage another try. See if I think third time's a charm maybe here for found footage. Who knows? But again, keep in mind, we got to do something about Steve here. This is becoming a real fucking problem.
Go get him, guys. Come on, Brian.
All right.
Do it.
All right. Anything else I'm forgetting?
I wanted to mention the other beer I drank.
Oh, yeah.
I got pretty drunk on this episode because I had to get through the cringe of this shit. But this other beer I picked up from Magnify Brewing out of New Jersey. It's called Flavorade, and they made an ice cream orange sour with sports drink powder.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus Christ. They literally put Gatorade powder in it.
Yeah, they put Gatorade powder in it. But honestly, it tastes exactly like an orange creamsicle.
No.
Plus, it's got the electrolytes plants crave.
Right.
That's right, Rondo.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. So I guess my question is, are there any other Steve directed films in the can still that we're going to get an opportunity to watch that are floating around out there?
No, this was the only one that's like out there and available, and like I still had some, like I still have a file of that I could upload to YouTube.
Yeah.
This was it. This was, my way of, celebrating 2 years, my 3 wins, and Meg's goodbye. So, it's a good way to bring
fuckers.
Yeah. I couldn't let Meg go without, subjecting her to like an awful student film.
Yeah.
It's one of the most important things a film watcher can watch.
Yeah.
Is a bad student film, because it really makes you appreciate what other people do.
Hey, I'll tell you this. I would not have been able to make a film that well in 2007. We tried to, in college, make like almost an improvised comedy type of thing that was like, and I don't know if it was influenced by, but it definitely seemed to be almost like a It's Always Sunny type of thing. I don't remember when the first season of that came on, and it was the most cringy thing you can possibly imagine. And I would almost want to ask my friend Brian if it exists anywhere so I can bring it on, because it was, the cringe level is
Look
1,000.
where you started, Steve.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's the other thing is like, we spend all this time sitting on our high horse, bashing a lot of these shitty films. I can make myself vulnerable to earn credits to come after Children of the Corn 2020.
Yeah. You're punching up. No matter what. All right, guys. This is a lot of fun. Join us next week for another motherfucking Minisode where we talk about a thing that we will decide shortly. For the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm the only director from Penn State to make a 3D horror film.
You are. He is, guys. Admit it. Bye.
Admit it.
You admit it.